I would like to apologize in advance due to the fact that the video, the angling is horrible, and I did not want to re record it simply because there was so much raw emotion, and I felt like, the message is what's most important. So let's just ignore the fact that I'm completely out of frame.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel with me, Ny'Chel Dior. And I am just so glad to finally be able to get this video out. It has been highly requested. All of my friends and family, and then like some of the people that follow me, are just like, we need a story time on how you actually did it. So here it is. And I am going to apologize in advance because this video may be pretty long. Simply because there's so many different key aspects to how we even got here, and you kind of got to know where it started in order to understand where we are. So I have to start from a certain place that occurred in possibly 2021. This is kind of where it all ultimately started. So without further ado, here goes. And I am going to look down at my notes because, like I said, it's so many aspects to this story. So, the first part, we have to start in 2021. This was around the time when COVID first, came up, and everybody was pretty much bored trying to figure out what to do. TikTok is popping, Clubhouse is popping, everybody's bored in the house. And I was on Clubhouse, and I had just been listening in on a session, and there was a guy there, and he was just talking about his journey and how he manifested moving from like Chicago to Hawaii with his family, like, and just how everything turned out. And I just was so inspired by his story. So remember, this is 2021 because these are important to understand the timeline. So long story short, his story was he moved from Chicago to Hawaii with his entire family. And he is literally living his best life right now. And I'm like really proud of him for that. So basically, looking back from then to now, his story ultimately changed my life for the better because it just gave me some insight and a different perspective. Sorry for the background. It's hot, so I have the windows open. So, back in 2021, I was living in Philly with my son, working from home. I had opened a daycare, and I had ran it for about 3 or so years. And although I loved the work that I was doing, there was something in me that felt like it just wasn't enough. I felt like I didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like there was more that I needed to be doing within the same space, within the same industry, but at a different scale, like a higher scale, something more rewarding. And that's eternally what I was feeling, right? And I remembered speaking with Jerry all those years ago. So now we're in like 2020. It was about 2021. I'm sorry. So at some point, I just started to do what he did. A key part of this story is sats because that's pretty much how we got here. He would go to bed every night affirming how, he needed to be shown home, where was home. And he said he would, affirm that going to bed. And eventually, over time, all the signs for him led to Hawaii. And of course, there's more to it, but Hawaii was his destination. So, fast forward, I took a page out of his book. I just felt like I wanted to figure out my purpose. So I changed the wording. And so what I ended up doing was I was just like, show me my purpose. Every night I was going to bed, show me my purpose. Show me what I'm supposed to be doing because I know that there's more to life. I know that there's something I'm supposed to be doing. I know that there is something that I'm supposed to be great at, but I guess I'm great with kids, but I need more. And it was sometime in April or May of maybe 2022, maybe 22, 2022, maybe. At some point, I just started having very, 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 very vivid dreams. And when I say like, I could almost feel, taste, see everything. Like all of the senses were engulfed into this particular dream. And I've had it several times. And I remember waking up one day and I had said to my mom, like I called her, I said, Mom, what's a medical daycare? And she was like, I don't know. And so we're on the phone and I'm looking this up because I'm like, I had a dream. Like I saw it. I saw the children. I saw the rooms. I saw, my decorations. Like I just saw everything. And that's where it pretty much all started, with having that one particular dream, because I didn't know it then, but the medical daycare would lead me into moving. So after I'd done some research on what that was, I was just like, okay, God, I don't know what this daycare is. How am I supposed to do it? Because the research that I had found, they exist, but they're not as popular or in demand, I should say. And I do think our communities need them. So I started doing the research and I'm just like, well, how am I supposed to do that? I don't remember exactly how long it had taken, but at some point I just was like, you know what? Got my footsteps. And I would just walk around living my everyday life, doing the things that I would normally do. And I was just like, Lord, God, my footsteps, whatever I'm supposed to be doing, make it your will. Like it will be done. And one day I just found myself applying to nursing schools and trying to look up the prerequisites and just figuring out what I needed to do. And I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. The daycare, okay, I need to be a nurse because if I'm going to be taking care of medically compromised children, I need to be able to know what I'm doing. So that's how we got into this whole nursing thing. So mind you, I'm in Philly and I'm doing all of this research and I'm like, okay, I can get into school, but the dilemma would have been, how am I supposed to do school and work and take care of my son? Like that was something that was, this God make a way, show me, like just show me. And so I was applying to schools or looking at different schools, but I knew I needed to take those science classes first because when I did undergrad, I wasn't a science major or anything like that. So there were certain classes that I needed to take in order to even look into nursing schools. So I've done that. I did all of that, take all the classes that I needed to take. And then I was like, okay, nursing school is clearly the answer. But the problem was in Philly, at least where I was, none of the schools offered an online program for me. And because I am a working mom and I have to still be able to pay my bills, I couldn't just go to school full time for 18 months. It just wasn't going to happen in person. I needed an online flexible program. And so I still have time because at the time I had to take like 4 or 5 different classes before I could even look into applying for school. So fast forward, I did all of that. And then that's when I started to remember Jerry again. And I took a page out of his book. I was just like, I don't feel like I belong here in Philly. Like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. Show me where home is. And that was his affirmation, show me home. And I would go to bed, show me home, walking around thinking, show me home, show me home, show me home, show me home. And at some point, everything just started saying Houston. Mind you, I'd never been to Houston. Um, Back in undergrad school, I think I brought it up to my cousins, a possibility to move to Houston one time. I think we had a conversation about it once because I had mentioned if I didn't figure out what I wanted to do, I'd go stay with him and I'd stay with him in LA. And that's my baby. I love my cousin. And we were going to figure something out. Mind you, I'm in maybe my junior year of college at this point, but it was a thought. It came and then it went, because even then when Houston popped into my mind, it didn't make sense. And I'll say that time and time and time and time again. Houston never made sense to me because the biggest thing is, why would I go so far from my family? Or it's hot. Like I'm a Philly girl. Like it's just the idea of being in Texas. It just didn't ever seem like something I needed to do. So at the time, back when I was an undergrad, I ignored that. But it came back when I started saying, show me home. And I'm like, why is Houston on, the commercials here in Philly? Like that it just didn't seem like it made sense. And I was like, okay, maybe that's something I need to do. Or people I was meeting, they're from Houston. Or I went to Disney World and I was talking to someone and she was like, oh, if you ever get a chance, go to Houston. Like all of these things just kept coming up. And I'm just like, am I supposed to be in Houston? And I said, you know what? I'd never been. And then that's where the journey began in 2023. 2023 is the year that I decided, you know what? I got to figure out what this urge is. So, in my good old Ny'Chel fashion, I called my mom. And I was like, Ma, you want to go to Houston? She was like, for what? I was like, just because. Because at the time, I wasn't sure of what it was I was looking for. I wasn't sure of where we needed to, like, what I needed to do. I just needed to be there, I guess, for my own kind of like confirmation to explore. This is where it all starts to come like together. I hope this makes sense because I'm trying to remember a lot of details from over the course of the several years. I booked the flights for me, my mom, and my son to go to Houston. And we went in August of 2023. This is where my story gets emotional because I was on a mission when I decided to come out to Houston. For my mom and my son, it was just a really quick, getaway. She could get off work, I could get off work. Let's take a quick trip. So it was easy to do. We got to Houston. No, sorry, back up because all of this really starts on the plane too. It starts on the plane. And as we were flying, I had the window seat and I remember just praying. I'm just like, Lord, I'm scared. I'm nervous. The idea of moving away so far is scary. I've always had my family. My family is extremely supportive, extremely close. That's all I know. Moving out to Houston would obviously take me out of my comfort zone. It would obviously put me, in a place of solitude and isolation. But I was just like, there must be a reason that this is sitting on my heart for so long and for so strong. And I just kept saying, if it's supposed to be done, Lord, make it so. Like I just kept saying it. So we're on the plane. And I don't remember like the actual flight, all of it, but I do remember as they were saying, prepare for landing and everything like that. And you know how the plane is just slowly descending. And I'm just praying because I'm looking out the window. I felt the wheels come from out of the plane. And you know how it's about to land. It was a smooth landing. And as soon as the wheels hit the ground, I just heard, I'm home. And I burst into tears. My mom and my son sleep. I'm at the window, hiding, crying because I'm trying to figure out what I need. And I'm just like, Lord, make this make sense for me. Because I'm scared. I was absolutely terrified. And I was just like, if I'm supposed to be here, show me. Make it so. Give me confirmation. Make it so clear, Lord, if I'm supposed to be here. Like I was praying, y'all. I was praying. Because if I'm supposed to be here, show me, tell me. Right? And I'm in prayer. So he taxes into, we're deplaning. I always wait. I take my time and I needed to get myself together. We're the last ones to get off the plane. I dried my face up, got myself together. My mom and my son had no clue that I was this big old emotional wreck. And I felt good about it. Even though I was like, there was a nervousness, I felt good about it. And I was just praying as we're getting our things. I'm like, Lord, make it clear. Show me. Like sometimes we ask God to be very performative. And it's just like, instead of just trusting, we're always like looking for a sign, looking for an answer. But for some things, it's just like, this is a big ask, and I need this to make sense. I don't want to make mistakes because I have a little person depending on me. I have all of these things that I have to consider. And so as we're walking through to get off the plane into the airport, um, there's I fly Spirit. No, no spirit slander. Quick trips, I'm taking Spirit. I don't care what nobody say. That's important to note because when we were walking into the airport, there was a big sign right in front of the runway coming out of the off the plane, and it said yes in cursive. It was black lettering with an exclamation point with a yellow background. And I to this day wish I would have taken a picture of it, but I wasn't thinking about it because I was just like, is this really happening? I couldn't believe it, right? So I'm like, okay, that was quick. I see you. I see you. That was quick, but I'm gonna need a little bit more because, again, this is a big ask. It's not like I'm just doing this with just me. I have my son to worry about. At the time, he was only like 5 or 6 or something like that. And that was a lot to ask for me. So I struggled with that a little bit. So I was like, you know what? This is going to be a good week. We're having a good time. So I'm getting off the airplane. We get our bags. And what ended up happening was in Houston, when you're going down to the baggage claim area, there's a sign that says welcome to Houston or whatever. And I took a picture of it. And I remembered from my training class and I talked to her. We was in training together for work, and I work from home. And I remembered she lives in Houston, and I was like, oh, since I'm here, let me see if we can link, because she was cool, whatever. So I texted her, I said, hey, Treasure, and I sent her the picture. She said, oh, what you doing in Houston? And so, of course, we exchanged pleasantries. We're talking, we're laughing. And she's like, oh, let's hang out. And all right, cool. So my mom was going to be cool with my son. Something come up where she couldn't have a babysitter at that particular moment. So my mom had offered to watch her daughter as well. So we could go out. Like, my mom is all about me having a good time. She don't mind watching kids. And so she, of course, asked my coworker at the time, was she okay with her watching her since my son was there anyway? And she was like, yeah, it's cool. Our moms talked on FaceTime or whatever. And then so she and I went out. The whole time, she doesn't know anything. All she knows is I'm here. And shout out to Treasure because she's an intricate part of this story as well. There's so many important people who play out into this story. So I'm texting Treasure and we hanging out, we having a good time. And she was like, girl, you and your mom y'all should move to Houston. And I internally laughed because, mind you, she knows nothing. Prior to that, we may have had a couple conversations, wasn't anything like deep or whatever. But this is where our friendship became. Like, we became close after all of this. So I was like, okay, confirmation much, right? That was one day. I forget exactly what day it was. I'm going to put screenshots in through this video so because I have receipts. My cousins knew I was in Houston, and my cousin Ariel, I tell her a lot, and she and I had just been having a conversation, and she texted me something along the lines of, you moving to Houston or something like that, or did you decide you're going to move to Houston? I'm going to put the screenshot. And I said, I think so, or something like that. And so that was number one. Mind you, the whole time I'm here, I'm just praying. If I'm supposed to be here, make it clear. Show me that I'm supposed to be here. Everybody that we met that week that we were here, none of them were Houston natives. Everybody was talking about how they come from all of these different places and how they loved being here. There was never a reason for them to go back to their hometowns. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, to me, it was confirmation. Oh, I do have dates. So apparently, on August 20th, my cousin had texted me about the whole "Are you moving?" And that ended up working out. And I have a friend in Dallas. That's another story for a different day. But he came to Houston to see us or whatever. And even he didn't really know what was going on. And he had mentioned something along the lines like, you would be happy in Houston, you should move to Texas. We just had that little bit of conversation, and I told him I was trying to figure it out. He has been my friend for a long time. At this point, it's been over 17, 18 years, something like that. Um, And I was like, okay, this is starting to feel good, right? Then I remembered, wait, I have people in Texas. Shout out to Shanae. She and I met in undergrad at UMES, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We're both from Philly. We met at UMES, graduated, ended up working at the same job in Philly. When I opened my daycare, her daughter was one of my first babies. After some time, her and her fiance, they moved their family to Austin. And she had mentioned to me at some point in time, like even with her, she was said something along the lines like, I could see you doing this, like you gonna open a medical daycare. Mind you, I don't even know about this, but she texted me something along the lines of you would open a medical daycare, and she had mentioned something along the lines about me coming to Texas. And I was just like, what is really going on? Like at this point, it's too much to be coincidental. I don't believe in coincidences at this point anymore. Like things happen for a reason. There's no coincidence. There's reason for the things that we do. So that entire visit was fun. That was the first time I came. That was August of 2023. I had made up my mind by the time we got back to Philly that I was moving. Again, praying, fasting, telling God, listen, if I'm supposed to be here, make it so. Because the how wasn't my business. And I'm having these coaching sessions with my life coach Jerry. At the time, I listen. You got to work with me through this, and he just kept saying, remember, Abdullah said you were in Barbados, and I just have to remember to myself, you were in Houston, you were in Houston, you're in Houston, you're in Houston. So over time, things just started coming up. Like Houston was everywhere. Mind you, I live in Philadelphia. Houston was everywhere. And so I said, okay, I got to find an apartment, where we're going to stay. And I started scripting. I am a firm believer in scripting. I knew where I wanted to be. I knew the shops that I needed to be near. Like I knew the type of neighborhood we needed to be in, school district, everything. Like there was so much that needed to occur before I moved. And at that point, I decided, I was like, I could do this within a year or two. November of 2023, me and my son came back to Houston because I'm looking for an apartment. That ended up just being a weekend getaway because Houston is huge and there was no way I was going to be able to physically go to all of the apartments that I was interested in. And I learned about locators. I'd never heard of a locator because when I got my first place, I bought a house at 2 years after I graduated college. So like I'd never lived in an apartment before. So that whole experience of trying to find an apartment was new to me. This is where it got interesting for me. I was talking to, this is another key player to this. I have to add into this because she has a lot of significance in the story too. My friend Chanel. She and I were going through a lot of the same things, and she was also moving. The only difference was she was staying in the same state, but she still was moving extremely far from everything she knows and loves as well. Like it was not an easy move for either of us. So I had that support. She had me as support. I had her as support because we're doing something very different, very, it's scary. Uprooting your children from everything they know and love can be a very scary experience. And so we had each other for that. And I'm beyond grateful for the people that have been in my life. My cousins, Treasure, Chanel, my friends prior to this. Like there was so many people that made this very easy to do. It was simple. It wasn't necessarily easy because there were so many aspects that needed to happen in order for us to get here. I was working with the locator, and I knew exactly what I wanted. Like it had to be a 2 bedroom, it had to be a 2 bathroom. There was just certain things I had to have. And remember, I scripted this, and I'm going to try to insert some clips of that because I was very detailed in what it was I want. And for the most part, I got almost everything that I had scripted. And I honestly think had I kept looking, I would have got exactly what it was I was wanting. But I think the excitement, I was just like, listen, this is a good 75%. I'm good with that. Like it was my price range, like everything. So that was good. So what ended up happening was The things that the locator was sending me, I don't like them. And what with all of that, I was kind of getting frustrated. I was kind of feeling like this is harder than I expected. It was one night. I was friends with these girls, and they were very helpful in this process as well. And it was one night we were on the phone. It had to be like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I had randomly was looking in my note app because I had wrote down, I guess, apartments I wanted to check out at some point. I don't recall exactly how I found these. I just wrote a whole. And then one of them stuck out to me because I was like, wait a minute. I saw this name before. The name of the complex was kind of strange. So I was like, I saw this before. And so after looking at my notes, I went back to her email. And at the very bottom of her email was the name of the apartment complex that I had wrote in my notes sometime prior. And I said, well, let me go look it up. Like I don't recall seeing it. The name was just there, but I don't know that I ever saw it, like videos or. So I go do the little virtual tour, and the video that showed, I watched it, and then I was like, wait a minute. And I ran and got my journal, and I'm flipping through the pages, and I'm like looking at the video, read my journal, looking at the video, read my journal. I was like, this is what I journaled. I said, this is my apartment. This is my apartment. So I'm telling Chanel. And she's, of course, encouraging me to apply. And it was one day, I don't exactly remember how long it was, but she was like, she just texted me, go apply to the apartment. And it was funny because I had literally just clicked submit on the application when her text came through. And I called her and I said, you have immaculate timing because I just submitted the application. Now we wait. I'm anxious. My credit at the time wasn't great. I didn't have a dime to my name. That's the other part of this story. I moved with no money. I moved to Texas with no money, and I'm gonna tell you how. So after I had applied, I said it's in God's hands now. You know, whatever spirit wants me to have, it'll be mine. And if not, something better will come, whatever that may be. I applied, I fasted, I prayed, I affirmed, I persisted. I didn't care about what was going to happen. And had I probably persisted a little bit more, I probably could have got exactly what I wanted. But again, everything was happening so fast. It wasn't something I really honestly thought that I should have like drilled down because I was getting results. I remember sitting in the house, I was working, and it was probably 6 or so in Philly, which means it would have been 5 in Texas. The office manager called, and it was a Friday. I remember it was like 5:30. She said, "Hey, everything is well. You were approved, but there is a conditional deposit." Again, I don't know what any of this means. I'm like, so just talk to me. So the conditional deposit was some bull. It was first month security, but I needed an additional month security. So that brought my total to $2,851 that was needed by June 7th. Because, and the reason that date is important is because, again, I know nothing about apartments. The apartment unit that I had wanted was up, it was being advertised as 1501 a month for rent. And I wanted to pay 15. So when it said 1501, I was like, okay, that's fine. That's not an issue. And what ended up happening was, had I waited till July to move, the rent went up to 16 something. It was like well over 1650. I didn't want to pay that. I didn't care. I was hard stopping at 1,500. I didn't want to spend any more than that. So when I saw the rent for 1,501 for the specific unit that I wanted, I was like, I got to get on this. So I was like, I got to come up with the money. So that locked me in. I had to do all of this. I had booked my flight on May 23rd. Now remember, I needed to pick up keys, sign a lease on June 7th. So that's about 2 weeks. Follow me. This is where it gets chaotic. And I could have never told you things would have played out the way that they did if you would have asked me, how was I going to do this? I could have never come up with how it worked. And that's why they say the how is not your business. Things, people, and places and circumstances are going to be put in situations or put in place for you to get what it is you want. You don't have to worry about the universe. The universe conformed to the desires of my heart. God made it happen. Like, nothing short of a miracle is all I can honestly say. So remember the dates. I booked the flight on May 23rd. I ain't got a dime to my name. I believe I might have had a handful of dollars when I booked the flight. And I remember I had a handful of dollars when I booked the flight. And I remember I had used Airfordable. Had never done it before, but I was like, I couldn't afford the flight, but I was like, I could break it down. And so Airfordable allowed me to do that. I'd never done it before. Found it on TikTok, and I was like, okay, this is going to work for me. I didn't want to ask anybody for help because, and I guess there was a pride thing, or I don't know exactly what I was thinking, but I didn't want to ask anybody for the flight money. I just needed to figure out, like, as I still had bills, I still had mortgage, I still had my son, son was in private school, that was $600 a month. Like, there were so many things that I still had to do. So I needed to come up with $2,851 between May 30th and June 7th. Keep in mind, I'm still a full-time mom. I still worked a full-time job, two full-time jobs pretty much, because I was working the weekends and I was doing 36 hours. So that's for two full-time jobs. And still had school in between. Mind you, I own my house too. So keep that in mind too, because that's important to the story. I needed to get up this money by June 6th because on the 7th, we needed to be in Houston so I could sign that lease. Yeah. I knew it was going to come together. I just didn't know how. I hustled, I prayed, I fasted, I kept my faith. It was going to happen one way or another. It did not matter. In order to get to the money, I had to use every resource I had. Once she had called and told me that I needed that money, I immediately ran outside, took a picture of my inspection stickers, my registration, and my insurance. I signed up for Lyft. I hadn't done Lyft. Mind you, this is 2024 at this point. Haven't done Uber and Lyft since 2018. Didn't need to. That money. So I signed up for both. The moment I got cleared and approved for Lyft, this is where my blessings started coming in. Lyft sent me an offer, and there was like a large bonus after completing some, I think like 40, or it was a large number of trips that needed to be completed within like a week or so in order to get this bonus. I made the money. I drove Uber and Lyft every single day to come up with the money. Every single day that I went out, I needed a goal of $250 to $300 to complete my night in order for me to get my goal. And every day I made it. Philly is very easy to make that kind of money doing Uber and Lyft, even if it's just for a couple hours. But I utilized my time and I was out there all day. Them apps let you run 12 hours. When one app kicked me off, I was on the next app. It didn't matter. And this is where my village started to come in and help. So the other good thing too was, at the time I had met a guy, And he was very nice to me, very sweet, and very helpful. He he saw me hustling, like, and he was really good company. Every day he stayed on the phone with me while I was out driving, for Uber and Lyft and everything. And I think had he been in Philly with me, he'd have probably rode those rides with me or did it for me, like, because it was a lot. I'm a woman driving 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning trying to make a couple dollars. And so what he ended up doing was, if I didn't make my goal 100% by like a certain time, he would just give me the difference. Every night he gave me the difference. I just met this man, and I think within a couple of days he sent me $100. Of course, it's not a lot, but I just met this man. That was more than a stranger needed to do, and I was grateful for it. But he seen what I was doing. He understood what my purpose was, and I think there was some admiration in my hustle. He was just like, "You're not out here begging for it, and I don't mind helping you if I can." I was extremely focused during all of this. Um, the good thing is, people watched my son. People sent money. I was able to sell things in the house. Basically, I got the money, yo. I got the money. It took a lot, but I got the money. And this is where they talk about inspired action. So let me interject to that point. It was never my intention to get up and start driving. That was never my intention. Remember, I had said, after she sent it, I found myself getting up to go outside to take pictures of my inspection. That was the inspired action. At that time, I had no clue. Thinking back, that's exactly what it was, because inspired action is something you just do and you'll think about it later. You don't, it happens so naturally. You're not thinking about what you need to do. It just occurred, like as if it was going to happen anyway. So in those 2 weeks, I made my goal. The 28.51, I made it. There wasn't a problem. I got the money that I needed. We flew down on June 7th. Um, I rented a car. We came, we signed the lease, and I have posted that video of us cleaning the apartment. And this story time is long overdue because we've been here almost 9 months now. And I'm going to link that video because it is very inspirational. So this is where I forgot to mention, the other part of this story is I manifested $29,000. I was thinking about moving. I never wanted to sell my house. I bought the house when I was 24. That was something I was extremely proud of, and I wanted it for like that residual income. Never wanted to sell the house. One day, my mom called me and she mommed me, and she said, "Just listen to me. Sell the house." For the first time, I wasn't combative. I wasn't argumentative. I didn't ask why. I needed to listen. I put out a text to my family. They came in droves, y'all. They came in droves. I had to be out of that house so we could get it on the market. Every day, somebody else was at the house helping. My aunts, my cousins, my friends. People showed up to help me empty out this house. This was 7 years of accumulated things. I ran a business out of it. We lived there, like ran several businesses out of that house. So I had a lot of stuff acquired. We needed to empty that house within like 2 or 3 weeks. Mind you, I'm still working. I'm like doing all of these things. We got it done. It was literally by the grace of God. It got done. My family showed up and showed out. And after we emptied the house, my mom and my aunts, like my family do, they came, we ate, we cleaned, we did everything we needed to do to get this house market ready because we only had a short amount of time. And it's beautiful because if I had ever questioned people's care and concern for me, all of that dissolved when my family showed up, my friends showed up. Um, Even while I was trying to do all of this, I forgot to mention, like back in April 1st, which is my birthday, my CNA classes had started. It was a 6-week program. I was still doing that. So like so many different things were going on while I was trying to sell a house, move, clean, make money. Like there was just, I did a lot. It was very chaotic. Like the entire experience was chaotic, but I'm so grateful for it. I had 3 weeks to do it, and my 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom, fully full to capacity basement was empty. Things were sold and the rest was trashed. I went in, put my house, it was on the market on June 21st. My house was completely empty by July 5th. My first offer came in on July 16th. That deal fell through, which is fine. But I think I had another deal within the following week. Like it didn't take long at all. Um, Everything that could happen happened. And one of the biggest things that happened that took an emotional toll for me was my phone was off. I hadn't paid the bill because I couldn't. You know, all of my money was going into this. But we made it work. Um, in July, so my house was empty by July 5th. We were staying with my mom. And so between the 5th and the 20, I want to say maybe 4th of July, we had stayed at my mom's house. Can't remember exactly how long because I must be missing something. I don't recall staying there that long. But we had stayed at my mom's house. I went to Mexico and then came back. Um, so I'm trying to sell this house because we're already in Houston now. After I came back from Cancun for my trip, me and my son flew out, I think, the very next day to get to Houston because I'm like, I don't want to pay rent for a place I ain't even staying in. And I still got to pay the mortgage at the other house until it sells. So my phone had got cut off in the middle of all this. Mind you, I'm in Houston now. I didn't have the money. And at this point, I don't even know how it got this high, but my bill was well over $2,000 because I hadn't been paying. I had so many other things going on. I was just like, God got me, God got me, God got me. Phone finally gets cut off. And I had to get creative. This is where I started to realize legality is, something important. My car had got transported. I did pay the money for my car to get transported to, here because I wasn't going to drive it. I could not get my car registered in Houston because I have a cosigner and I have no contact with said cosigner. So I had to get creative. So I wasn't even able to do Uber and stuff out here so I could make the money to get my phone back one way. I got real creative, and this is for me just proof that circumstances do not matter. Like any and everything can go seemingly wrong, but you still get what you want at the end of the day. You just got to go through the motions. So circumstances don't matter. Like let me just say, had no money, phone got cut off. I was without my car for a couple of days, and then by the time I got the car, I couldn't even come out here to make nobody. So that first couple months we was in Houston was tight. Like we struggled a little bit. We came with nothing. I got rid of everything because the amount of money those moving companies wanted to move old things, I said I could take that same money and completely start over. And that's what I was going to do. I just knew that the money was going to come. I went to settlement on October 8th. I had $29,000 in my bank account by October 9th. That money allowed me to pay off significant amount of debt. That money allowed me to fully furnish our entire apartment, put food in the house. I misspoke. The dates and the amount was wrong, but still, it was a lot of money. Football, because he was in football. I think the first week we were here, like I found a football team, signed him up, paid the money, and put him in football because he loves football. I didn't want to take that from him. I got to travel a little bit. My son and I, we had fun. We did monster truck. We did a couple other things. I had it. It was good. Everything was great, and I just remember having cleaned the apartment. Even though there was nothing here, I just stood in absolute amazement because I knew it was going to eventually start to feel like home. Like I knew I wanted this particular apartment to feel like home. I wanted to decorate. I wanted to make it ours. I went out of my way to do his room in a way that would make him comfortable. His room looks like an apartment. That's what he wanted. I'm comfortable here. Like I had the freedom to do whatever it is that I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, I never gave up. I never wavered. All I knew was I was moving to Houston. I know how. I know with what money. Um, there was a lot of aspects. Every day that I was doing Uber, my girlfriends and my cousins was kind of like keeping track. Um, I remember I had just woke up. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And my cousin Ariel just texted me randomly. And she was asking me, about my progress on where I needed, how much money I needed more. And I think at this time I might have needed like $600 or so more. I can't remember. I'll put the screenshots. Whatever it was, she sent me $200 and she was like, okay, so now you only need XYZ. And I was like, oh, well, thank you, thank you so much. And she was like, it was on my heart this morning to, help somebody out and you came to mind. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy because I literally just got finished praying, Lord help me because I'm tired. I was physically running myself ragged. After Ariel had sent me that money, it was 200. I was talking to my girlfriends because mind you, I still needed a couple hundred more to get to my goal. I had texted my girlfriends, hey, can one of y'all watch my son? I think that particular day, both of them were busy and they were like, well, how much more do you need? My friend Brittany, she's like, how much more do you need? And I was like, I told her how much. She sent me another 200. Y'all, I fell off my bed. Like I slid off the bed to the floor because I was just overwhelmed with gratitude. I was beyond overwhelmed because I was just like, it's happening so fast. Mm. I was talking to my aunt. I had her watch my son one of those days. And I came to pick him up and she's like, niece, I'm just so proud of you. I see you out here, you grinding. She sent me $100. And then while we were cleaning out my house, I was selling things, obviously, and I really didn't want to sell my TV. But who I sold it to, I'm okay with it. Like I had to part ways with it. My cousin was like, "What you gonna do with this joy?" And I was like, "I gotta sell it." He's like, "How much you want for it?" I was like, "Can you give me 5?" He's like, "Yeah." So he Apple paid me 500 that day, and we put the TV in his car. I prefer my cousins to have my stuff. Like my family has my stuff. At a larger scale, it's not all in vain. It's not all lost. Um, those people coming in willing to purchase things to make my transition easier, I'm beyond grateful. Like when I sit in this living room, I think about what I did to get here, and it's nothing short of amazing. No, okay, so what? I was tired. Okay, I was aggravated. I was stressed out. I cried a lot because it wasn't a matter of what if this doesn't work out. It was a matter of I'm tired, but this is happening. Like this is happening. And all I could do was just thank God. And after we had pretty much got all the furniture in here, I decorated this beautiful wall. I had cleaned up and I was standing in my kitchen just looking around. And I was just like, thank you. I just broke down because I don't know why I need to be in Houston. I don't. But every day, the answer becomes more and more clear to me for why I need to be here. There's a lot of internal shifts going on with me, and I'm grateful, y'all. I'm just so freaking grateful. I'm not one of them people that think, I'm about to get on this internet and be crying. I'm very emotional because I ain't gonna say I had the roughest life because I didn't. Did I struggle? Yeah. Was some things hard? Yeah. But I say all that to say where you've been or where you come from doesn't dictate where you're going. God got purpose for my life. I have purpose for my life. I have purpose for my son's life. And I needed to be away from the distraction. I remember it was in June when we first came out here the first time to when we signed the lease. Ariel called me on FaceTime and she's like, "You did it." I did it. And even though she's younger than me, she ain't really my little cousin, but that's my little cousin. She's just like, I'm just so proud of you. Need tissue. So I was talking on the FaceTime to Ariel, and me and Treasure was actually on our way to go eat because me and her eat. We greedy. We go eat. That girl, she my road dog. We could eat, right? And Ariel and her boyfriend Julian were going somewhere, and he took the phone. He's like, "You did it, cuz." He's like, "You did it." He was like, I only know a little bit, but you did it. I'm proud of you. Mm. At some point, and I'm gonna play the clip. Forget exactly when. Julian has sent me a reel on Instagram.
From among your kinfolk. And I'm talking to somebody, and I know I'm ministering right now because your next stretch and break is going to be from family members. I'm talking to people in this room who had to move halfway across the United States of America, and you feel lost.
And I look at it to this day because I just need a reminder. Mm. I need a reminder sometimes. But in short, the video was about the village people and the sermon that this pastor was talking. He was speaking about, he was like, God removes people from their village. He was like, I moved you away from your village, not for you to go back, because I got something for your life that in order for your village to be okay, I needed to remove you. He said, because you figured it out. You were the one to figure it out. And that video was so profound to me because sometimes I do question it. I'm out here by myself. Um, it, it's scary. And at some point, the nervousness and the fear went away. It was just like, normal anxiety. I miss my family. So much so that I've been back to Philly, God knows how many times since, because the flights are not bad. It's not expensive. It's not long. So we've been back to Philly. I've never been away this far. Like, I went to Maryland for college, but my mom could drive to Maryland. She's not driving to Houston. She's not driving. And it's going to take her at least 6 hours to get to me. God forbid anything should come up. Or even if it's just, I want to see my children and my grandbaby. It's going to take us some time to get to us. So when I think about all I did to get here, I will absolutely say it was worth it, and I would do it a million times over again. Because if I would have known, like, this experience showed me love, grace, patience, tons of gratitude. I mean, I was saying thank you a billion times a day, crying. I'm a big crybaby. I'm a softie. It is what it is. If you know me, I cry at everything. I could be happy and I'm crying. I'm grateful. I'm crying. And I'm grateful because I trusted in myself enough to know that I can figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. I have to figure this out. I can't let myself fail. I got that baby depending on me not to mess up. And the only time we mess up is when we give up. That's when you fail. The giving up is the failure. You may have setbacks. Life is not going to be 100% peachy all the time. Things are going to happen. It's just how you deal with those situations. This move has shown me so much about myself. And it's only getting better. It's only getting greater. Um, and then it also recently just inspired me to truly open up to who I am as a person. This move was so I can truly embody who I am. My theme song from the time that I made up my mind to move to the time we got here until now, It's Working by William Murphy. I sang that song a million times over, probably more, because it was just like I got a seed in the ground. I planted a seed, y'all. I planted a seed. And everybody around me who loves me, cares about me, shit, even if they didn't, they watch me do something that a lot of people would be terrified to do. The entire time I was saying, I'm going to move. I'm going to move. Everybody's like, you're so bold. You're so brave. That was the word, brave. Everybody used brave. And I'm like, I don't see it as brave. Bold, yes. Brave, no. I do hard things. Ariel just texted me, you do hard things. I said, you're right. I do. That's real. I do hard things. Hard doesn't mean impossible. Impossible just means I'm possible. I was able to do the things that I set out to do. And it's only getting better. In the time that I had moved here, I got into my desired school. The program fits perfectly for being a working mom. Philly didn't offer this. The program was designed for me to be here. Everything is by design. And that's okay, because I'm not in a rush. I want to enjoy the process. I don't want nursing school to be so tedious and hard and frustrating. I'm still going to get it. I'm going to be able to take care of my baby. And I think a lot of this is also pointing me into really opening myself up more spiritually, because I am very, very, very grounded and protected in who I am. And I do believe my soul's mission is to nurture, is to teach, is to cultivate. And so that's what I want to do with this platform. And I also say that to say that there's going to be a follow-up video to this, because I had a revelation about 3 nights ago. That's a different story for a different day. If you are still here with me, I want to say thank you, because this journey wasn't easy, but good God, it was worth it. It was so worth it. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm blessed beyond measure. The things that needed to occur in order for us to get here, it worked out. It worked out. I just had to trust myself. I had to trust God. They say all you need is some faith the size of a mustard seed. And I had that faith. I just knew God wasn't going to let me fall. Yolanda Adams said it. God don't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't bring me this far to leave me. And even though sometimes it gets rough, even sometimes I get upset, even when things occur, I just say, God's got it. Or I'm like, having some issues, and I'm like, God's got a blessing with my name on it. And I just want people to know that even though it may look scary, the other side of fear is success. You just have to get over the fear and do something. And I have to take my own advice. I don't know what my reason is for not wanting to get on camera all the time and share my story or share my wisdom. But I do know that I was born to teach. But I think I'm supposed to be teaching people that we only can limit ourselves. And so we have to become limitless into be able to create the dreams and the goals and the desires of our heart. You have to be confident within yourself. And even if you're not, just changing your mindset. This was a mindset. I just knew I was moving. That's all I needed to know. How was it my business? I just knew I was moving. I knew. Just as well as I knew my name, I knew I was moving. So I'm working on cultivating that knowing with every fiber in my body. This entire process wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Treasure coming down here to see the apartment for me, calling me on FaceTime. It wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Chanel. She was on my case. Did you apply? Did you apply? Did you do this? Did you do that? Like, we're doing this. She motivated me in ways that I could have never imagined. Even down to my scripting, I had mentioned wanting to be close to Treasure simply because that I would have needed that support. And she and I lean on each other a lot, and I'm grateful for that. Having friends out here that I actually know. You know, Shanae is here. She may be in Austin, but she's still here in Texas. She's 3 hours away. My friend Floyd, he's here. He's in Dallas, about 4 or 5 hours away. Funny enough, a girl I used to work with at the same hospital me and Shanae worked at lives in Pearland. Like, there's so many people here that I know personally. Apparently, I have family out here, family friends that are like, listen, we got you. When I say God don't play about me, I am protected. I'm spiritually led. And although I'm big on manifestation and I'm big on, creating my own reality, I understand that I am the co-creator. And I do have the desires, but I'm always like, listen, Lord, if you got something bigger and better for me, show me. And the things that I want to do require me to get out of my comfort zone. They require me to do hard things. Ariel said it, you do hard things. Because I'm capable. I am able. I see it through. Sometimes I get a little lazy. Sometimes I get a little frustrated. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed. But I moved, y'all, across the country with a 7-year-old. He's 7 now. I did it. I didn't do it by myself. People and things worked out in my favor. Everything worked out in my favor. And I couldn't be more grateful. When you look at me, you see I am like the human form of what a blessing looks like. You just got to know that it's there. I aspire to be more than what I am. And if anybody is watching this, whatever is in your heart, just ask for guidance. Every day I'm saying, guide my footsteps, show me, make it abundantly clear. Sometimes a little slow. Make it clear so that I can know what my next steps need to be. I'm always saying, Lord, guide my footsteps. And that has been ritual for me. Show me how great it can get. Every night I'm going to bed, show me how great it can get. Show me how great it can get. Things are happening to me in all of the best ways, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. So I hope this story, even though it may have been all over the place, I feel like I missed some key points. But the overall gist of it was circumstances do not matter. The how is not your business. That knowing, you know without a shadow of a doubt, the thing that it is you desire is yours. I knew I belonged in Houston. And then I'll touch on that a little bit later because that goes into astrocartography. That's a whole nother story for a different day. But I am going to touch on that because I think once we start understanding certain aspects of all of this, they all work together. Once we understand how to utilize these tools in conjunction to what we know, we're going to be okay. So there's going to be so much more where that comes from. I do hope that this was inspiring, motivational, eye-opening, or just, I wouldn't say entertaining, but I hope you got something out of it. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I would love to talk about your journey as well. Comment and tell me what's going on. I want to talk about it. Let's get us all where we need to be. See you later, guys. Until next time. Thank you. Bye.